All right, welcome back to Cuomo Primetime. Here's my closing argument. It is July 16th, 2018. Many are saying this is a day that will live in infamy. And that's true. They say it will be remembered as the day the presidency, as a symbol of America's protection, died. But I see something else as the result here. I think we hit bottom. And if so, there's a blessing in that, because there can be no more debate about which way is up. Donald John Trump delivered us here with a display of cowardly self-interest. His decision to choose to believe Vladimir Putin over his own government on the matter of Russian attacks on our election. As simple and as shocking as it was embarrassing to hear those words. But when it happened, everything changed. It was like the free world gasped. Now, we all knew that Trump wouldn't and maybe couldn't confront Putin about his attack on our democracy to anyone's true satisfaction, if only because Trump had disparaged the truth of the matter too many times before. And we thought we knew why, because Trump conflates the attack with his legitimacy as president. But in all that, we never suspected that a president would betray his own country as an exercise in vanity. But then Donald Trump betrayed America. And after that gasp at Trump's perfidy came all the exhaled words of outrage and calls for justice. John Brennan, the former CIA director under President Obama, called it, quote, nothing short of treasonous. Now, that's a loaded word. The law does mention giving enemies aid and comfort as treasonous. And no question, Russia is an enemy for attacking our democracy. And what Trump did today does resemble aiding and comforting. And the law has very harsh penalties, including disqualifying the treasonous from holding office. But what's the reality? There will likely be no negative consequence like that for President Trump. No prosecution, no impeachment. And I'm not making a case here that there should be. My case is for something else that we're seeing in response that has been elusive, as elusive as justice in America recently, and that is consensus. Right, left, and reasonable in our government, when they drew their next breath, they found a collective voice, and they shouted, no. No, Putin is not right. Trump is wrong. We believe our institutions. We trust in our democracy. Russia did interfere. We will not trade facts for feelings of legitimacy. We will not trade our conscience for conspiracies. No, party is not that important. The truth, however, is, and I see a realization in this unity. The realization is this: the truth is a side. And we were all on the right side in this moment in a way that I haven't seen in a long time. And in that moment, Trump's luck ran out. He wasn't going to escape through doubling down and insulting his way out of it. He tried. Russia did this during Obama. Servers are missing. The FBI agent, he's the real culprit. It all washed over us like the whining of a child who won't go to bed. The GOP can't dismiss this as style and say, let's wait and see. We waited too long, and the world did see and heard what President Donald Trump said.
My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this: I don't see any reason why it would be. So I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today.
And what the president tweeted after as a rationale, it only cemented his mistake. So here's the good news. Here we all are on the same page about a fundamental truth. Russia attacked our democracy. We won't stand for it. We won't let the president say otherwise. But we're facing a question. Where do we go from here? But here's what we know for sure. You've got Republicans, you've got Democrats, and right now they're on the same page. And if they move together, they will wind up in a better place. CNN Tonight with Don Lemon takes it from here. Don, that's the hope out of all the hysteria, is that we saw left, right, and reasonable come together in unison today in a way that we have not seen. and they did it at the right time for the right reason. What will they do next?
Yeah. The reasonable part of that, what you just mentioned, is probably the most important part. But listen, you played that soundbite. Hearing it all over again is just as shocking and just as stunning every single time you hear it. You can't believe the President of the United States is undermining his own intelligence community and America while standing on an international stage with one of our enemies. I can't believe it.
I wish it weren't true, but it is. And now we got to move past that and figure out what the hell do we do now?
Yeah. Well, let's hope in the news cycle that, you know, this doesn't just become next week, it's over and it's something else and we're on to.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, this is really important. Yeah.
Not on our watch. Yeah. This matters too much. But I'm going to watch your show right now. Get after it, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Have a safe trip back. We'll see you soon, Chris. This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon, and what we all saw and heard in Helsinki today is really frightening. An absolutely shameful display by an American president with the whole world watching.
Mr. President, you tweeted this morning that it's U.S. foolishness, stupidity, and the Mueller probe that is responsible for the decline in U.S. relations with Russia. Do you hold Russia at all accountable for anything in particular? And if so, what would you consider them that they are responsible for?
Yes, I do. I hold both countries responsible. I think that the United States has been foolish. I think we've all been foolish, but I do feel that we have both made some mistakes. I think that the probe is a disaster for our country. I think it's kept us apart. It's kept us separated.
We both made some mistakes. Stunning. By the way, the reporter who asked that question is going to be on a little bit later. That was stunning to watch. President Trump caving to Vladimir Putin, refusing to side with his own country, against an attack by a foreign foe.
Just now, President Putin denied having anything to do with the election interference in 2016. Every U.S. intelligence agency has concluded that Russia did. My first question for you, sir, is who do you believe?
So let me just say that we have two thoughts. You have groups that are wondering why the FBI never took the server. Why haven't they taken the server? Why was the FBI told to leave the office of the Democratic National Committee? With that being said, all I can do is ask the question. My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be.
That was deflection. That was President Trump trying to deflect, more interested in talking about the Democrats' server than about what Russia actually did. It is pure capitulation for him to stand next to Vladimir Putin and say he doesn't see any reason why Russia would attack our democracy.
Sarah Westwood there at the White House, and if you're tempted to think it's purely partisan, those were Republicans sitting in the House, among them who were criticizing the president, raising those hard questions. House Speaker Paul Ryan, the speaker, he spoke out against the president's comments as well. He had a very different characterization of Putin and Russia. Listen to what he said just a short time ago.
Vladimir Putin does not share our interests. Vladimir Putin does not share our values. We just conducted a year-long investigation into Russia's interference in our elections. They did interfere in our elections. It's really clear.
The president is wrong on that. I agree with the president. There's no evidence of collusion, but there's overwhelming evidence of meddling by the Russians. Everyone I've spoken to in the administration, both administrations, accepts that view. I think the president feels if he makes any concession on that, somehow that gives credence to collusion. But there's not. These are two separate issues. He's got to realize that. And it's also definitely wrong to in any way be suggesting any moral equivalency between the U.S. and Russia. To me, it's a terrible mistake, and he's got to correct it.
Republicans. I'm joined now by Democratic Congressman John Garamendi from California. He is a member of the House Armed Services Committee. First, if I can, I'd like to get you to respond to what House Speaker Paul Ryan said earlier today. Have a quick listen.
Vladimir Putin does not share our interests. Vladimir Putin does not share our values. I understand the desire and the need to have good relations. That's perfectly reasonable. But Russia is a menacing government that does not share our interests, and it does not share our values. Let's be very clear, just so everybody knows. Russia did meddle with our elections. Not only did Russia meddle in our elections, They're doing it around the world. They did it to France. They did it to Moldova. They're doing it to the Baltics. Russia is trying to undermine democracy itself, to delegitimize democracy.
You noticed there, as I did, that Speaker Ryan, very strong words for Putin and Russia, but did not mention the president. Was that a failure of leadership?
Failure of leadership by the Speaker, absolutely. By the President, an astounding failure of leadership. The fundamental task of both of these gentlemen is to protect the American democracy and, in a larger sense, the security of this nation. President Trump absolutely abdicated everything he swore to do. Our democracy was seriously undermined by Russia. There's no doubt about what they did. They hacked in, they stole the information, they weaponized that. They had a serious impact on the 2016 election, as well as on elections in other countries. That is a theft, that is a crime. The president refused, 3 times given the opportunity in the press conference, refused to stand up and honor his commitment, his oath of office to protect this nation. It was despicable. Strong words have been used by former CIA Director Brennan. I'm not going to go there right now, but this requires a full blowback by the Congress. And the Speaker of the House should have named names. This is the president who failed us. The Speaker failed us by not naming the president here and hanging it directly on the president.
We've heard some critical comments from sitting lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, I should say, certainly a number of Democratic lawmakers. When you speak to your Republican colleagues privately, do they tell you that they're willing to act now legislatively to react to the president's comments, for instance, by passing further economic sanctions against Russia, sanctions that the president cannot stand in the way of?
Absolutely, we should do that. We'll see if they have the courage to come up with these additional sanctions. There also ought to be a censure motion. This action by President Trump is not repeated anywhere in the history of the 44 previous presidents. None of them have so abandoned their oath of office as to literally turn over to Russia the investigation, to turn over to Russia and Putin, former KGB agent, the future of this country. Keep in mind that it was the military who put out, the Department of Defense put out a document not more than 7 months ago that said Russia is the principal adversary of the United States. And here's the president standing next to that adversary, who is documented not only by the intelligence agency, but by the Mueller investigation in what the president calls a witch hunt. And Mueller found 25 Russian witches who have involved themselves in the American election process illegally. So what did the president do? He simply abandoned the field and gave Putin everything he could possibly want. No wonder the Russians are crowing about the success. They have an American president in the palm of their hand.
Congressman John Garamendi, thanks very much for those direct thoughts.